Have a beautiful day. Chet, Mr. Chet, we've got Chet Sisk and Tawani Clark. For those of you who were not here earlier, Chet's better half, Tawani, spoke a little bit ago. And you'll have an opportunity for those of you who are coming in late or maybe you completely missed this. We'll be on YouTube, Facebook, our Apple podcast channel, so you'll be able to catch us all. It's good to see you, my friend.
It is good to be seen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I have to say it sounds like there's a little gremlin.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let me see here. Okay. How's that? Is that a little better?
I think that is a little better. Less
Okay.
gremlins. Yeah, I think there
All
were more
right.
gremlins when I was speaking. So I'm
Gremlins
gonna
can't have
shut
that.
my mouth here. But first, I'm gonna say to you, I spoke to my mother this morning,
Oh,
and
did you
her
tell her?
only well, the only thing she asked about when I told her we were celebrating this 13th anniversary is Chet going to be with you? Yes, Ma. Chet's supposed to be with us today. Well, you give him my love and you tell him I am looking forward to seeing him when I come out
Oh,
in June. So we have to work that out. Okay. I
we'll
made
have to work
commitments
it
to
out.
Mom.
Oh my gosh. I just love your mother. And please tell her I send my blessings and all the love that I can send over the miles directly to her. So I'm glad she's doing well, and she has a wonderful daughter.
Well, thank
People
you.
should know that.
And we get to in the next few days, well, in a couple of weeks from now, we'll be celebrating her 96th birthday.
96. Hey,
96.
so I have to say this has been kind of under wraps, but my mom just got married and she's 80, she'll be 84 in May, and she married a guy who is 96.
Congratulations, Mom.
Yes, it's low key right
Congratulations
now,
to
but
that.
we'll get
Well,
there.
it's no longer low key. I got to tell you now. Okay. This is going out to the masses, my friend.
Well, she's happy, and that's the most important thing. So,
It is.
yes,
It is.
yes,
So, Chet, we've known each other for 20 some years now. We've known each other through the music industry and then, going through the whole humanitarian world and then partnering up where I worked with you with Universal Basic Resource.
yes.
So, what are you up to right now?
Wow. Well, the beautiful part, I'm hearing that I still have an echo. Is the echo still there? If not, I can switch my microphone.
I think there's a tiny bit of an echo. Let's see.
Okay. Um, my better half came in and said, "I hear an echo." So.
It's a tiny bit of an echo, but it's better than
Okay.
it was earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me share with you just a little bit, and I won't take very much time. I just want to make sure that we all know how important her many voices is. That's important to me. It's really important, not just because of the strength of you, Alicia, and your personality and what you believe. All of those things mean a lot to me, but most importantly, that there has to be a solid, consistent conversation about championing Mother Earth.
Mm.
And I think sometimes we have people that'll come in and out of that space, and you have been consistent. And that's the only thing that counts in the end. And I cannot tell you how important that is, the consistency. It means something to me because I believe that consistency always tells the truth, whether it's good or bad. Still the truth of you. And you've been telling this truth about how we need to champion Mother Earth and how that is absolutely necessary, particularly in a time of climate crisis. I really appreciate the fact that you were a member of our initial Universal Basic Resources Climate Strong Initiative class. You brought so much flavor and family to that cohort that it gave me everything that I needed in order to go even further. So now we're expanding. The big push is to expand to 11 different cities. In fact, I just got off the phone call with one of the cities in Springfield, not Springfield, but Troy, New York, So that puts me closer to your mom. That just basically they're all in, and what we're trying to do is create climate adaptive and resilient communities everywhere. We want to network them. We want to pull them, help them to put together their own agenda, because we started realizing that if the governments want to sit on this thing, as we've seen from the IPCC report that just came out, we don't have the luxury of waiting for them to act right and to behave. And I think that that becomes the great challenge for us, and it's always been the challenge of those of us who've been marginalized for a while, is that we have to make a decision of whether or not we want to wait for people to behave better, or we just take matters into our own hands and start to become creative, innovative, visionary, and empowering. I just believe that you have to go beyond just the conversation about it. You actually have to create an ecosystem and infrastructure that forwards these ideas, so that it's not just a nice conversation over dinner. I have the luxury of being able to have a beautiful wife who
Hmm.
challenges my thoughts, who feeds my fire, who affirms the things that make sense so that I continue to grow. And now I get a chance to really kind of expand and do this on a national scale, the same thing, better this
Will
time.
you will you tell people about what program that I worked in with Universal Basic Resources around the Climate Strong Initiative? Tell us a
Absolutely.
little bit about it.
Yes. The just the part that you championed more than anything, and I think people really need to hear about this, is the whole aspect of hemp and hemp production, bringing women of color into the whole professional aspect of what hemp does, because of the fact that it's just a better product. And the only reason that we're not utilizing it is political, has nothing to do with whether or not it is a worse product than the concrete stuff that we're using now. It's just better. And so just to champion that and to walk with that, and to actually bring me into an understanding about hemp, was just, I mean, it changed my life. So now I'm able to articulate more about the power of hemp and utilizing hemp, and how it has to be one of the tools in our toolbox when we talk about a sustainable, adaptive, and resilient community. If we're not talking about hemp in that mix, we're not really having an honest conversation. So I want to say thank you for bringing that to a forefront, and making that a part of what we were doing in that first cohort. And there's more for you that I just discovered, that we'll have to talk offline
Okay.
about that. But you're, as long as you're championing that, it gives the rest of us a chance, and quite frankly, a hope that we can actually reimagine how things are built. We can reimagine our health, and we can reimagine just some basics, even like our clothing, based around what you brought to the table. So I want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, and I want to thank you because what you were able, and here speaking to that beautiful wife of yours, thanks for giving us all the opportunity to celebrate HMVF 13th anniversary. Wonderful to hear from you, Alicia. I didn't know if she wrote Aisla, Alicia, and all of the speakers. Gives me hope for the future. Thank you,
Mm,
Tawani. Yeah, this gives me hope too, because boy, oh boy, you wake up day after day and it can be exhausting out there.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And yeah, and I want to say, because of Universal Basic Resources project with the Climate Strong Initiative, what you guys were able to give me, aside from the stipend, which is always helpful,
yeah.
um, you were able to give me guidance on developing the business plan in creating the hemp community longhouse.
Yes, and I think the more I start realizing how important that is, especially as we're doing some pre-work with the groups out east, that the whole idea of being able to develop a business plan so that you can clarify your thoughts, not that necessarily that you, well, let me just say this. creating a business plan and a pitch deck helps
Mm,
you to clarify your thoughts about what you believe is truth. We're
mhm.
thinking that we're doing it for other people. We're doing it for ourselves
Right.
so that we have
Right.
clarity about this thing that we feel so adamantly about. And that's what we do. We provide that level of guidance and saying, well, really, is that what you're seeking to do? What are you trying to say? And to get people to drill down on their heart's desire. What is it that you seek to do? And the stipend, just just making sure that you're compensated so that you can spend the time to do that development
Mhm,
and really just run with it. I feel very strongly about that, that if we're going to do something about climate crisis, if we're going to do something, you have to empower people to do something, not necessarily the politicians. I know there's some politicians that might be listening right now,
mhm.
but quite frankly, it's it has to be on a grassroots level. People have to sit back and see themselves as solutions, and that's what we want to do with the UBR Climate Strong Initiative. Provide the consultation, provide the seed capital, provide just the overall support, the camaraderie that we developed inside of the cohort. I just was meeting with some of our cohort members just the other week, and we were just laughing and talking about all the things that we want to do going forward. And that's worth its weight in gold. So the work that's going to be done in this next phase, as indicated by the IPCC report, is that we can't leave it just to the governments. We have to do that. I mean, we are the government, but if there are some people that are compromised because how governments work, unfortunately, in our current society, we
Yeah.
can't sit back and say, I hope they get it together. We have to say, what do we do? What are the businesses and projects that we can develop that can make this magic in the world? We have to.
Right.
We don't have the choice. We don't have the luxury of being able to just kind of wait it out.
Yeah. And like you and Harmony using that word magic, because it is true magic that we are needing in this world. We got
Yeah.
to sprinkle that all over the place. Oh, speaking of magic, Tamara Banks, congrats on 13 years of making the world a better place. And I know
Tamara
you know our
Banks.
girl, Tamara Banks.
I
Um,
just love me some Tamara Banks. She is
Yeah,
just
I
some,
love me some Tamara Banks too.
you
Tamara
know,
is a journalist. We met many years ago here in Denver. I can't remember. She was on one of the news channels and then she had her own PBS show. But
mhm,
Tamara has been one of those people to go to Haiti with us
yep,
and be on the ground to find the stories. She is one of those people who has been to the Sudan. She had not one, but two award-winning
mhm,
documentaries with Pastor Heidi McGinnis, who was a
yep,
modern-day abolitionist who
yeah,
we've worked with. As a matter of fact, Pastor Heidi had been a part of our board for a few years, and she's now a part of my advisory.
mhm,
And she's a dear friend, another woman who is doing the work to
mhm,
really focus on humanity
yeah,
and our
yeah.
connection.
Yeah,
And
Tamara is another one of those people that we keep talking about, that it when they keep doing the same work, you can trust that because they're
mhm,
consistent. It
mhm,
means something to them. When we keep doing the same work, it means that it's not just it's in our headspace, it's in our heart space.
mhm.
And she is the same as you are with her many voices. It's in the heart space, and we know it. And that's where I feel very strongly for people about people who are in that space, and that other people should recognize that too. When you see Alicia constantly doing this work, it's more, it's not a drive by, it's not a hey, how you doing, this is the latest. It is the work. And you and I, Alicia, we've had these talks where we're just kind of, we I mean, if I had some hair to pull out of my head, we've had those conversations where it just seemed like this is nuts, but this
Mhm.
is the reality of the world that we're in. But I am impressed that you are brave enough. You are not afraid. It doesn't mean that we don't get scared from time to time, but you are not afraid, and I honor that and I admire that, quite frankly.
Thank you. Thank you. And there are plenty of days where I know for myself, I wake and sometimes I think, "Ugh, well, who wants to hear what you have to say again? You're like this broken record, Alicia. But guess what? You got to be the broken record
Yes.
until people get it, until we're all on the same track with
Yeah.
this.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, I
Yep.
mean, and like you said, we can't leave it up to the government. My God, it was the government that made a plant illegal.
That part. Yeah.
And
That
now
part.
the government, even bringing the plant back into the fold, is trying to control it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How insane is that?
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. But let me offer something. I'm gonna geek out on you for as a futurist, real quick
Okay.
story, and just please, for those of you who are not into the geek science fiction set, just bear with a brother. Stay with me for a second. So back in the day, there was this guy named Frank Drake, and he was the guy who came up with this concept that said there are 100 billion planets in the galaxy, and out of those 100 billion planets, at least a few million have human life. So then this French guy comes along. His name is Fermi, Enrico Fermi, I think it was, and he came up and he said, okay, if there's so many people like out there in the galaxy, where are they? Shouldn't they be here visiting us, checking us out? And then this other guy comes along, Dmitry Kardashev, and he says, well, they probably aren't here because, quite frankly, they just didn't make it. They probably collapsed under the weight of their foolishness. So
Mm,
it takes something extra in order for a society or civilization to become what they call a level one civilization, where it's big enough and it sees itself as something that's special. And basically he kind of broke some stuff down. I'm taking some liberties because I'm matching it with the feminine aesthetic that existed years before. But he said a civilization, in order to become level one and make it, they have to garner all of the energy, the human energy on the planet. They have to see everybody as one. They have to be able to see through and be visionary and big enough to see that they have possibilities and all of these things. They have to be able to uh, leverage the strength and the goodwill of all of their people. We i feel very strongly about this. It may not seem like it right now, but those of us working on the ground, we are right at that point where we recognize that if we garner
mhm,
the power of all of us and see and become visionary about what that future is, we too can defeat the dragon of exploitation, greed, self-indulgence, and all of those things, and truly become what I call a level one civilization. I believe we are brought to this particular moment for that very reason. So when I see crisis, when I look at all the things around us that seem like it's this that everything is trying to kill us, I
mhm,
say just the opposite. Everything is providing a road forward for us to become our greatest and highest selves. Yeah, everybody's talking about Ubuntu now. Everywhere I go, Ubuntu, everywhere. And I'm
mhm,
starting to realize, I sat back and I said, they weren't talking this about a year ago. So
right.
we're starting to realize that I am because we are because I am is real. And it can't be just a nice phrase. It must now be an infrastructure. It
It's an
must be an
actionary.
ecosystem. We have to put it in place. So to me, I think that you are a representation of that transition that we're in. And because of the fact that you've been here, you've been saying it, and you've been holding the ground for so long, and now that I believe that tree is bearing fruit, even in the middle of all of the great storm that exists around us. The reality is that I think we're in transition. Either
Mhm.
we will sail and soar in the skies as beautiful birds, or we will collapse under the weight of our own foolishness.
Mhm.
But this
Yeah,
is that moment.
we
We
are in
have
that
that
moment.
moment, and I'm
I,
I'm for one am glad that we're here.
I look at us collectively, all life, collectively, we are one body, and we each have a key element to the body, whether it's the cell, it's an organ, it's whatever. We are all one body. And right now, we're fighting certain illnesses.
Mhm.
And when we do that, we become stronger.
Yeah.
We become that whole. And it now is our time. And
I
all
I
of what is happening in the world is creating this opportunity to be just that, that
I
one
truly do
whole
believe that, and
body.
I don't
Yeah.
think it could come any other way. If we use nature as the pattern of how to break a fever,
Hmm.
I think we are we are a living example of that. So it
Exactly.
couldn't happen any other way.
Yeah.
So for those of you who may have lost heart, who may be sitting in a corner, in a dark corner, and concerned and worried, filled with anxiety or even depression, I say unto you, hold on, because I think this is our moment.
Hmm.
And one way or another, it's our moment. So hold on
Yeah.
and connect to her many voices.
Yeah. Thank you, Chet. Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to having you again
I look forward to being a
for
part
being
of your
part
journey.
of Earth Day.
And let's do
And
another having a male come and talk about feminine principle leadership. I
there
would
you
love
go.
to do that.
There you go. We
Yeah.
could use that again. We just had a comment up here, and I wanted to thank you, Deborah Burgess. Ah, my girl. Way to go,
Mhm.
Alicia. Just got on. Blessings. I'm glad you were able to join us, Deborah. Thank you so very much. Chet, thank you for being here. I will talk with you soon. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you very soon. Let's do some tea or something. All right.
Definitely. And Tia Tea Lee's, everybody.
There you go. Tia Teales. Yeah.
That's right. See,
Okay. We've got one more person coming up.